Hello, this is Madeline Colco. Today is Monday, October 14th, and I am submitting my lab for the Digestive Pathway. So I prepared my little speech and all the pieces that I want to talk about, so I'll go ahead and get into it. First, the food will enter the mouth. It's broken down by chewing motions using the teeth. While this is occurring, saliva is released and secreted through the salivary glands, and the amylase in saliva begins to break down begins the chemical process to break down the food. When food travels down the esophagus, it is moved through the esophagus through peristalsis, which is the muscles in the esophagus moving the food downward. To the upper and lower esophageal sphincters. So these sphincters ensure that the stomach contents the stomach contents, which is the acid, and the stomach acid doesn't travel back up through the esophagus during normal activities. Once the food reaches the stomach, it's further broken down by enzymes by the stomach acid. So the stomach is actually made of several layers, including a mucous membrane and then the muscles within the stomach, which kind of grind the food and allow it to be broken down further, not only by the chemical process, but kind of a physical process in the stomach. So the stomach is also the first place where alcohol and aspirin, for example, can be absorbed by the body. Once the food is finished in the stomach, it's sent through the small intestine. It'll first pass through the duodenum, then the jejunum, and finally the ileum. The small intestine breaks down the food further by using enzymes and bile. These are secreted from the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder. The food is also then moved through peristalsis, just as it is through the esophagus. And this is where, in the small intestine is where the majority of the nutrient absorption in the body occurs. After the food travels through the small intestine, it'll reach the large intestine, where it passes through the ascending, transverse, and sigmoid colon. Here, the remaining water is removed from what was now food. As the nutrients have been mostly removed, it's now waste. And it is there in the large intestine where the waste will be held until the colon is full. And once the colon is full, the contents will be released into the rectum. At this point, the body will send signals to the brain notifying the person that it's time to release waste. We're full. There's no, it's got to go somewhere. And when the brain decides to release the waste, the sphincters in the rectum will relax and dispose the contents into the anus. That's where it will either be released or not released, because we do have control over this function by the internal and external anal sphincters. The internal sphincter is what allows us to not constantly be releasing waste. And that'll remain closed, so in regular activity, or when our brains are telling us, hey, it's not time to release waste yet, or when we're sleeping, or, otherwise not paying attention to whether or not we have to release waste, that stays closed until the external sphincter, which is when our brains and ourselves are telling us, hey, it's time, it's good, we're in an appropriate place, appropriate time to release waste. And that external sphincter goes ahead and opens so you can release your waste. And that will be the digestive tract from top to bottom. I will see you next week.